All right, it's time for part 3 of this Couch Potato to 5K Super Series. And we are going to learn a couple of valuable things today. One is how to make sure we're maximizing our efforts to get the body composition change. I'm talking about fat loss. And the other thing is we're going to begin to touch base on other pitfalls to avoid while doing this program and any other program to minimize injury. All right, let's set the framework with some more great questions. Denise says, if I break up my 10,000 steps per day into 3,500 increments, is it just as effective as doing it all at once? Great question. And we've got another great question coming from Kathy. Kathy writes in, this is awesome. What do you think of HIIT exercise for maximum fat burning? All right, let's tackle Denise's question first. Let's look at it from a big picture, sort of generic way. We are looking at 10,000 steps versus actually 10,500 steps broken up a little bit, right? So if we take a principle that we already know and understand, and that's our workload principle, and we look at that and we say, what is workload? Workload equals volume times intensity. In this case, our volume is 10,000 times 1 times, let's just give it an intensity of 3. So we multiply that across and we come up with a wonderful number. All right. Now, if we take those 3,500 steps and everything else being the same, and as far as intensity goes, we've got 3,500 times 3 times the same level of intensity. Our number has to be higher. Why? Because of a simple equation. We've got a bigger overall number here with that 3,500. Now, so in general, is it more effective? That begs the question, more effective at doing what? Okay, it might be more effective in making sure you get all your steps in because you do that more often. It fits your schedule, right? And we're going to talk about this in just a moment. When it comes to all of these principles and understanding exercise science and putting together programming, there's 3 things I want you to remember. The metabolic / science, physiology, your lifestyle, as well as your reality. Those are 3 things that come into play. So if your goal is simply to get in your 10,000 steps, then it really doesn't matter. It's whatever fits your lifestyle, fits your day, get the steps in. Some days it might be easier to go out and get all 10,000 in. Some days it might not. So you break it up. However, if you are trying to achieve a specific goal, then how you train does matter, and what you do does matter, and how you do it does matter. And it's the principle of SAID. And the SAID principle is specific adaptation to imposed demands. And what that simply says and means is that which you do most, you do best. That which you're training for or exposing your body to on a regular basis is what your body will adapt to. So from a soft tissue and a muscle endurance standpoint, there's a big difference between doing something in a short burst versus doing something over a long period, the adaptations you have to make. Look no further than your basic track and field event. Does a sprinter look like a marathon runner? No. They might spend the same number of hours actually training for their events, but what their bodies look like, what they're capable of doing is entirely different. What you need to do and what muscles need to work in what way is similar, but very different for a marathon runner to do it over the course of a couple of hours versus a 1,000-meter sprinter over a couple of seconds. So in general, for well-being, if you just got that pedometer going, I would say no. But keep in mind, there is a time and a place that how you do it would matter. So if your goals are more specific, shoot me back and I can tell you which one is the way to go. But for now, I would just say get those steps in. Stay active, keep the body moving. Remember, most of us rust out before we wear out. So however you get those 10,000 steps in, get them in. All right, Kathy, the short answer to your question is yes. If we look at the scientific side of this question, and we look at simply from a scientific standpoint, the literature seems to be overwhelming in saying that HIIT style of training it leads to maximum fat loss and a number of other benefits. And the fat loss really seems to be tied in with its ability to rapidly transform insulin sensitivity and to address metabolic symptoms that are related to how your body uses and stores carbohydrates and fats. And its ability to correct that and to change that very rapidly seems to be and they're not quite sure how and why, that is where the more maximal fat loss in a short period of time comes from. The other thing that HIIT training does a great job of is increasing your VO2 max and your overall aerobic fitness. So in short, the literature, the scientific literature, is going to say yes. But I'm Hank. I was a philosophy major, and I always look at things a little bit differently. So you know what? There's going to be more to this story. And there is. There's the science of athletic development and changing and training and change. And then there's the art of athletic development and change. So let's look at the art side of this question. So the science of athletic development is that geeky stuff, the things that they can break down and look at into numbers and compare variables and say, see, there's an improvement. See, HIIT training over constant steady straight does this, and boom, we've got a winner, blah, 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 blah. But then there's the art. And the art is, in my mind, the reality, right? The art of training, the art of programming takes into account two major things: your lifestyle and your reality. So by your lifestyle, what I mean is, does it fit into your lifestyle? Is it something that you enjoy? Because if it doesn't fit into your lifestyle, it doesn't matter how good of a tool that it is. You've got to find a tool that is going to fit into your life and your lifestyle. So let's say you're convinced that you have to do HIIT, but you can only find one day a week to actually do it. Is that going to be enough? Right? Is it, or let's say twice a week, and you've got to do a HIIT version of training on Saturday and Sunday because that's the only time available that you can do it. Is that really going to be more effective than, say, the reason you can't do HIIT the rest of the week is you only have time to exercise during the day at work. You've got an hour for lunch. And running up and down the stairs in a HIIT style, leaving you all sweaty and not having access to a place to change into fresh clothes isn't going to be a reality. So instead, you scrap it because you're like, oh, no need to go out for a 40-minute brisk walk, right? So you see what I'm saying there? The first thing is from a scheduling standpoint, does it work in your life schedule? The second part of that is, do you enjoy doing it? And now, I'm not saying that everything that you've got to do is something, oh, when I do a hard workout, I'm woo-woo, let's do this. There's some people that are that way. But what I mean is that once or twice a week, that is a good amount to actually do HIIT style. Not every day, but once or twice a week is more than enough. Going back to remembering our workload principle, we don't want to blow up our workload too quickly. Is it something that you enjoy doing? Because sometimes the reason that we exercise is for moving meditation, is what I like to call it. And going out and getting into a nice rhythmic, continuous movement does a lot of good things for our brain and to relax our nervous system in a very different way than high intensity does. So it's not a right or a wrong, but there's other reasons to be doing it. And you're going to hear me say this over and over again. HIIT is a tool. It's not a magic wand. Okay? HIIT is a tool. It is not a magic wand. So if you, like any tool, it can be used and to solve problems, or it can be abused and create more problems. So the first part of that lifestyle is, that first part is lifestyle, and does it fit into your lifestyle? Do you want it in your life? The second part is your reality. Is your body ready for HIIT training? Yes, it might be the most effective, but is your body prepared for it? Because it's high intensity. And remember what we said about workload. A big part of that is intensity. So if I change this variable, my workload is gonna go flying up, right? So if it goes up too much too quick, I'm going to increase my risk of injury. So you need to do a real reality check on whether or not true HIIT style training is appropriate for you. Now, it might not be appropriate right now going from couch potato or couch to 5K. Might be a little bit too much, but after you complete this program, you're gonna be in a better place from a soft tissue standpoint, from a muscle endurance standpoint, from an overall general ability to recover, that you might be able to handle a couple of really high intense. But as we chatted earlier, I believe that the current program, the Couch to 5K, is actually introducing you to the concept of HIIT. When you go from a walk to a jog, right? You go from a lower level intensity to a higher level intensity, and you repeat that. So one way to look at this Couch to 5K is that it's a beginning base phase of learning how to do later on higher intensity versions of HIIT. So yes, the science says HIIT is there for maximum fat loss, but make sure you understand the art of that science, fitting it into your life. Is it fit into your lifestyle, and does it fit into your reality? If it does, then it might just be the tool you're looking for. All right, let's wrap this session up with 4 quick questions you can ask yourself to determine whether or not adding some form of HIIT style of training to increase or maximize your fat loss is right for you. Okay, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what's my goal? Okay, if your goal is fat loss and your goal is to increase your insulin sensitivity and address some of those issues, as well as increase your VO2 max in a short amount of time, then HIIT might be right for you. If your goal with your exercise sessions is maybe some fat loss, but you want to do something that you really enjoy and you want to get into more of a different meditative style of movement, or maybe you want to be able to do it with some friends that can't do the HIIT style, then maybe that's the direction to go. The second thing you need to do, the second question is, what exercises can I do that I can do in a HIIT style that are safe for me? Right? You Google HIIT exercises, there are some CrossFit super athlete freaks out there that are doing all sorts of jumping and spinning and throwing and some fabulous stuff. But if you're doing this Couch to 5K program, you're not there yet. Don't try it, okay? Start off with something simple like running up a hill, or being on an elliptical or a bike, or swimming, something that's going to be a little lower impact. You know, even doing circuits with air squats and push-ups and ball throws, if done safely and correctly, are a great way to introduce some HIIT style circuitry into your program and as a 4th day to accommodate your Couch to 5K effort. But make sure you can do it safely. If you're not sure, okay, seek out some professional guidance. Get a coach to watch you to make sure what you're doing is being done in a way that's safe so that you don't hurt yourself. The third question to remember, it's not even a question, the third thing to remember here is that it's not a magic bullet. And you don't want to add more than 1, maybe 2 days a week of a HIIT style circuit into your program. I would say from your Couch to 5K, if that's what you're doing right now and that's the direction you want to go, I would add it as a 4th day, and that would be it. And then in the future, look to maybe add it twice a day. And the final thing to remember if you choose to do a HIIT style of training is, if it hurts, stop. And we're going to talk more about that in this next session about contraindications and running with knee pain and things of that nature. But the bottom line is, if you are doing a exercise in a HIIT fashion, you've got to be extra sensitive to what your body is doing, because a lot of that's done in an explosive manner. And if you go into a pain area, stop, take care of yourself, get your workload under control. All right, we're going to talk a little more detail about that, all of how to take care of your body in the fourth and final episode. But I hope I answered your question in a way that not only addresses your immediate needs, but allows you to take an understanding of HIIT, workload, the SAID principle, specific adaptation to impose demands, so that you can begin to take those understandings and those principles and tools, put them in your toolbox or your little bag, so that as you're growing as an athlete, and as you're growing in your own self-care, that you're going to be able to apply this and down the road in a very appropriate and meaningful ways as well. All right, see you next time.